We live in a world that's in constant flux. Our strength is being tested in the most trying ways, and we must adapt to the changes our environment is creating. As we can see from the headlines in the past few months of 2019 and 2020, immediate awareness and response is all the more critical for saving lives and mitigating devastating impact. However, aid often doesn't reach the people that need it most. A lack of communication and mobilizing resources has little meaningful impact on the ground, and the after effects create more questions than answers for victims. This forms the basis of our challenge. How might we provide immediate relief to those impacted by natural disasters? It's a complicated task to figure out. However, our team scrambled to find out what the issues really were. We each researched different natural disasters in different contexts. This gave us the opportunity to identify the strengths and challenges in each scenario. Our research also guided us to certain themes that stood out, such as altruism and inequity, especially during relief operations. But it wasn't until we did our affinity mapping that we really identified the connections with everyone's research. When we examined everything, we found that community resilience was a key factor that was important and focused in on the immediate needs 24 to 48 hours after. To support our secondary data, we did interviews and diary studies with 10 relief workers and individuals affected by disaster that helped narrow our focus. We saw that staying connected with loved ones was important, as well as community and the support groups within them. This helped people feel like they were not alone and was key to recovery. Despite the strength of community, however, pain points such as poor communication immediately after and uncertainty created barriers for recovery.
From there, we defined our personas as the Mendozas, a family of 3 children, 2 parents and 1 grandparent, living together under one roof in the Philippines. Many families in Southeast Asia, like the Mendozas, have been victims of water-based natural disasters, like typhoons and hurricanes. Their journey is defined by 4 stages: pre-disaster, the onset, 24 hours, and 72 hours following the disaster. The pre-disaster stage saw disbelief and preparation. The onset stage saw panic and survival mode kicking in. In the first 24 hours, altruism within the community was high. Yet at the 72-hour mark, tension started to rise with stress and uncertainty. We chose to focus on this 24 to 72-hour window post-disaster because of this shift in altruism, going from working together to being stressed and skeptical.
So as a team, we defined how this problem could play out within the community and landed on an issue that was more resource-based and equality-based. So, as a victim, I find it difficult to compete with other victims for limited resources that I need in the first 72 hours. And our question became, how might we provide equitable access to these resources, especially to those in need in the first 72 hours post-disaster. So through ideation, we thought of different ways to distribute and trade resources within a community and, different ways to communicate immediate needs. So as we approached prototyping, we were a bit stuck, and we were starting to realize that we might have gone a little off track, and we never really truly dove deep into people competing for resources. And upon speaking to former relief workers, we also learned that this distribution of resources is a broader systemic issue. And how do we even know what equity is for people there? Like, is this really actionable in providing immediate help? So with this doubt, we looked back to our research, and in all our interviews, we learned that family is the number one priority. Staying connected or just knowing that they're safe, it's a value that comes even before food and shelter. And so we reframed our problem more so that for families like the Mendozas, it's difficult to reunite and reconnect immediately after being separated due to these natural disasters. So for these families, these separated families, how might we help them reconnect in this 24 to 72 hour window post-disaster? And for us, how might we iterate over the strong elements that we came up with from our ideation, and how can we take advantage of community altruism and resilience? How can we crowdsource and make use of resources that already exist or are integrated in the communities so that they could take advantage of it before external relief workers arrive.
After going through multiple rounds of ideation and filtering our ideas, we finally settled on a solution. Focusing on Southeast Asia, our solution aims to help victims have peace of mind by allowing them to check if their loved ones are safe and find out where they're located. This would be done through a database of safe statuses that can be accessed and updated through SMS. Before a disaster comes, each individual will be able to register online or through in-store kiosks and add their contacts that they can monitor. During and after a natural disaster, individuals may text the database using their phone, another person's phone, or through a relief worker later on. From here, they can check in as safe with a short location descriptor while checking if the registered contacts have updated their statuses. Currently, there are roadblocks when separated people try to text or call each other, such as network congestion or the other person having lost or damaged their phone. In our research, we found that people felt really bad during disasters because they couldn't contact and reassure their family that they were okay until much later on. Or they would try to call their family even while in the midst of the disaster because they needed to tell them that they are safe. Other solutions that exist to solve this problem include Facebook's crisis response and Red Cross Australia. However, both depend on reliable internet connection, which is difficult to access during and post-disaster. In addition, Red Cross Australia is a lengthy process to access the information and does not respond immediately.
What is our solution bring to the table? Our solution aims to give immediate peace of mind by providing information about the status of their family members within the first 72-hour period of force. We found that it is critical and pressing need that must be addressed. We validated our solutions by asking for feedback from the people we interviewed initially. We created a new illustrated journey map and walked each user through the prototype from registration to checking in or checking status. The main feedback concerns the registration process. People are often unwilling to take extra steps to sign up for a service that they do not anticipate using it, especially since most people don't think about natural disaster preparation until it's too late. As a result, we discussed ways to make registration process as simple as possible by partnering with government bodies, telecom, and media to spread awareness about the availability and usefulness of the service. Users will be able to register for the service easily through text by texting their name and their PIN. Then, they can set up contacts of whom they would like to receive safety status updates by texting the desired contact's phone number and their name. The contact would receive a contact request text and accept it to connect. During a disaster, users can text their name, PIN, and location to check in as safe and check the safety status of their contacts. Users will also receive text notifications as their contacts check in. If users do not have access to their own phone, they can also access the service by texting with someone else's phone or through a phone from a relief phone kit that will be provided to those in shelters by relief workers.
Starting with the WEF team, this initiative would be led by the government's Department of Social Welfare or another similar department depending on the government structure. The media outlets would lead the outreach efforts, while the private and non-profit sectors would carry out the technical aspects in preparing the phone kits. One example of a telecom with a social enterprise arm that could potentially be interested in the Philippines is Globe. They would collect and ensure that the donated cell phones are functioning properly. Then the next step would be to activate the local network of public schools, hospitals, police stations, etc. And an organization that could potentially help us gather that network is the Philippines Disaster Resiliency Foundation. So these networks would be used to distribute the kits, and then finally telecoms would be responsible for sending out the alerts to the citizens, and WEF would be responsible for handling the database to ensure trust from the citizens. If we had the resources, the testing could have been carried out in one of the small to mid-sized cities in the Philippines with lower cell phone penetration. For example, Lucena. It would be the perfect place to test because of its population of 266,000 people, and it's also ranked fairly high on the list of cities with the most natural disasters. For the testing to happen, we would have to get at least one telecom on board, as well as collect the cell phone donations to be distributed to the local networks of hospitals, schools, and other community places. Once that is in place, the telecoms would need to send out an alert to their customers in the area on top of the usual media coverage. And from there, the database would be handled by WEF to ensure the most trust.
At the end of the day, we're thankful to have been given an opportunity to hear stories of people affected by natural disasters. We know our solution can't tackle all the issues because a lot of it is systemic. We intentionally pivot our focus on a solution that would be more immediate and actionable. We hope you consider our idea moving forward.